When a disgusting pervert is arrested, the world thought they could breathe a sigh of relief. But it turns out the danger is still lurking in the seemingly most innocent and unlikely of places. And then we take a look at a bizarre encounter a young girl had one night in her house. When she heard a strange noise in the hallway, she had no idea she was about to come face to face with the troubling reality that ghosts may be more when they appear to be. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too, and I hope you guys have some awesome plans for the weekend. I'm gonna go see the new movie, The Long Walk. The new Stephen King movie. I'm not a big Stephen King fan ever since I found out he killed John Lennon, but luckily I'm not a huge John Lennon fan either, so it's kind of a wash. However, I do love Stephen King's short stories. His books are bloated and overwritten, but his short stories hit that sweet spot. And the story The Long Walk was always one that intrigued me as a kid. I remember reading it and like, that would be creepy. I didn't finish it. I just saw the title. I was like, walking. No! They're like, oh yeah, no, it's about a dystopian future. I was like, it doesn't matter. Anything that has walking. If I thought that was scary, oh, the Running Man, oh no, too much movement. I think I'm gonna go see that this weekend, but I hope you guys have some awesome plans as well. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, so first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone give it up for one of our legacy Patreon supporters. Woohoo, yeah, wee-ha, yeah, he's all walking on in, taking the long walk into Dead Rabbit Radio. There's a man behind him with a gun. Bill, thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much for supporting the Patreon. That is why you are going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. You guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon. I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. And to my Patreon members, we have a paid membership. We also have a free tier. And if you are either a paid member or a free member, this Friday, tonight, well, I guess it depends on when you're listening to this episode, but September 12th, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be doing our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. We're going to watch a bunch of short horror films. We always have a good time. We've been doing this off and on for quite a few months, almost a couple of years at this point. And it's always a blast. So if you are a member of the Patreon, I'm going to drop the link in the Patreon as well as the Discord, the Patreon Discord, and hope to see you there. If you're not a member of the Patreon, remember you can join now, paid or free tier. You can join us for our movie night. Starting next month, we're going to be doing one movie night a month and one movie morning a month for all the international listeners. I know there's a lot of people around the world. We're going to be doing one movie night and one movie morning starting next month. That's all the preamble I have. Bill, let's go ahead and get this party started. I got a new vehicle. I just came up with this. Bill, put on that cowboy hat and those chaps. Nothing else. All nude except for chaps and a cowboy hat. Everyone saddle up on the hare horse. This bunny-sized horse. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. I meant to say a horse-sized bunny. Everyone climb on top of the hare horse as Bill giddy-ups us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Britain. Grump, 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 grump. Hooves hitting the ground, and the Crypt Keeper is apparently involved as well. We're riding all the way out to Britain. Jolly ol' Britain. The year is 2019. And we have to go to the doctor. So we go to the National Health Service. That's like their national health service. It's, you know, everyone's always talking about, what do they call it? Socialized medicine, where you get everything done for free. You go, you're like, my goiters, doctor. The doctor's like, I'll fix those for $0. You're like, fantastic. And while you're there, he's like, how are your toes feeling? You're like, I don't know. He's like, well, you know, we also have a special on toes. It's free. It's always free. And you're like, wait, what? And he's like, playing with your toes. And you're like, I just wanted my goiters fixed. I'm in horrible pain, sir. Can you focus on my goiters? He goes, listen, it's free. You can't complain. You can't complain about it. Hey, man, your calves. Look at those thick, muscular calves. He's all pushing up against your muscles with his fingers. He's like, does that hurt? Does that hurt? And you're like, no, it doesn't hurt. That's not where my goiters are. I actually don't. Oh, goiters are in the knee, right? I'm not for sure. But the doctor's like, feeling. You're like, can you please take care of what I'm here for? He goes, you can't complain. It's free. He's feeling your legs. And the reason why he has this interest in legs is the doctor we're seeing is this guy named Dr. Neil Hopper. He's 49 years old and he's a vascular surgeon. And he goes, yeah, I know you're in here for the goiter stuff, but I like to just check out veins. I like to make sure veins are working because that's kind of my specialty. But since this is socialized medicine and everything's free, they just kind of shuffle us around. Last week I was a chiropractor in Sussex. Today I'm fixing goiters. You can't complain because it's free. So he's taking care of our goiters, and as he's doing that, he keeps feeling our legs. He's like, so you got good veins? You think you got good veins? You're like, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what a bad vein's like. I guess a varicose vein's not good. He's like, nope, not good at all. But your veins seem pretty strong. Well, let me just keep feeling around there for a while. He keeps feeling you up. You're like, is this doctor some sort of pervert? But on the other hand, the massage feels really good. You're like, man, my veins have never been this relaxed. Thanks, doc. Well, in an odd bit of irony, Dr. Hopper, he is a vascular specialist, and because of that, he has to do amputations from time to time. People's veins are acting up, they're getting all tangled up. They're like, were you playing rugby? Yeah, this guy tackled me really hard, and I think my veins got tangled up, and he goes, yeah, I can kind of feel it, and I think we're going to have to cut your legs off. And you're like, what? Yeah, your veins are messed up. You're not getting any blood to your feet, so it's time to remove your legs. And you're like, oh, man. Or maybe it would just be like a foot. Maybe it would be a hand, an arm. Whatever is getting tangled up, your veins aren't working right. He is the guy who goes, well, we tried all these treatments. I gave you massages for probably about an hour and a half to no avail. We're going to have to amputate. Now, he didn't take any joy in this. He didn't like amputating limbs, but that's what he does. But the irony is, in the year 2019, Dr. Neil Hopper, ends up being hospitalized because he has sepsis, a blood infection in his feet. He has horrible damage to his feet and to most of his calves. So when he's finally taken from his home to emergency services, the doctor says, hey man, Neil, I got bad news for you. We're going to have to amputate. Neil's like, what? The irony of it all. The irony. And in the emergency room, doctor goes, yeah, I know, it's super weird. You do all these amputations. Now you are no longer the amputator, but the amputatee. So he does have these amputations performed. He has both of his legs removed about a foot below the knee. No pun intended. And he ends up, obviously, his friends and family come out to support him. And more than that, the community comes out to support him. Because in very quick measure, from the time he had his legs amputated to the time he got back to work as a doctor was about 6 months. He had his legs amputated. He had some artificial legs attached to him. And he's like, I'm back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start working again. And everyone in the community was clapping. They're like, yay, yay. He's all walking to work. There's a dog walking by. It's barking. Almost like a parade. He's doing all these media interviews because it is kind of an odd story, right? It's a heartwarming story. It's an odd story because a guy who specializes in amputations now had to have his own legs amputated. It's a heartwarming story. It's a story of perseverance, right? Because that's pretty rough to lose any limb, but to lose two of them. And he'd do these interviews on the media talking about his story and his struggle, but how he didn't give up. And all these years he'd been coaching his patients, and now he's a patient, and he wants to help others through inspiration. Also, aside from all that, Dr. Neil Hopper had some insurance taken out. Like, I have insurance called, like, what is it? Loss of limb insurance. I have insurance that if any of my limbs fall off, I get money. Like, I have all of the optional insurance from my job. I do obviously the medical insurance and the dental, but I also do the catastrophic loss insurance. So if my limbs fall off, I get money, and I have the accidental dismemberment, which technically is the same thing. That one's probably just accidental. If I fell into a bandsaw, that one's covered by that. But I think if I just woke up one day and my limbs didn't work, then I would get the other one. But maybe I'd get both. I don't know. I hope I never have to find out. But I have all of this stuff. I have the life insurance and all the stuff that I don't even get money. Someone else gets money, which feels like kind of a ripoff because I'm paying into it. But anyways, I do all this accidental death and dismemberment and horrible disease. There's not a horrible disease insurance, and if there was, they wouldn't give it to me, as sick as I am. But I'm assuming that's something that he had. He probably has something like loss of limb insurance and catastrophic injury insurance, things like that. He ended up walking away with over $600,000 from 2 separate policies because of this, which is fair, right? You pay into the insurance, you have an accident, or you get this blood disease, you get the money back. That's the way it should be. So all is well in Hopperland for 4 years. In the year 2023, in another part of Britain, open up, it's the police. Marius Gustavsson, are you in there? Open up. It's the police, we're gonna knock your door down. And inside this dingy apartment, Marius is like, guys, spread out. Hide the videotapes. Pick up all that stuff. Go to my room. Get the testicles off the wall. Hide them. Where do you want us to hide them, Marius? I don't know. Somewhere where no one would ever look for framed testicles. Got it, boss. Battering ram knocks down the door. Police storm the apartment of Marius Gustavsson, a.k.a. the EunuchMaker. We covered him on a past episode. You're like, damn it, dude, I was hoping you would never bring him back up, but somehow I knew that you would find a way. The EunuchMaker ran a website that specialized in, I guess you're like, what did he specialize in? Selling Transformers? Selling retro 80s toys? He would make videos. He had kind of 2 businesses. One, he would make videos of people undergoing extreme body modifications. And I'm not talking about septum piercings. I'm not even talking about nipple piercings. I'm talking about turning men into eunuchs. And he would videotape these procedures. He was not a medical doctor. And he would get these men, and sometimes the men would pay him. If I remember correctly, he would make money by people paying him to be part of the procedure, but it was a pretty nominal fee. He made most of his money from the videos of the procedures. And he would videotape himself and his assistants removing the testicles from men, and even sometimes removing the penis, turning these men into what's known as a nolo. Someone with no sexual genitals. None. It's just like a Ken doll down there. With a little tiny, you're like, damn it, don't go into detail again. It's like a little, you have a pee hole and a butthole, but nothing else. But he also did amputations. He also did leg amputations and arm amputations and things like that. For the fetish community. There's a group of people, you're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh, yeah, I know. It's the 2 storylines are going to collide here real quick. There's a fetish community of people who believe that they shouldn't have all of their limbs. The most famous case was that woman who thought she should be blind, so she was looking around for a doctor to blind her. And she finally found one, and he injected bleach into her eyeballs, or poured bleach on her eyes, one of the 2. And she's blind, and she's never been happier. The doctor, last I heard, was on the run. Because he was going to get arrested for doing the procedure. But you have people saying, I'm in this body, and I just don't think I should have my left leg. I've always thought my left leg was some sort of hindrance. And for me to be happy, I need to have my left leg gone. Now, no sane doctor is going to do something like that. So people will go to extreme measures. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's a body dysmorphia thing. Sometimes it's a sexual fetish thing, where it's not that you feel like you shouldn't have a left leg, you are attracted to the thought, like sexually attracted to the thought of not having a left leg. The whole process of it being removed from you and looking at it, and I mean, I don't know what else you would do after that, but I mean, you're like, well, okay, that was achieved, but they get off on it. So he would do extreme body modifications up to including turning men into Nolos. Now, this was illegal. This was highly illegal for a couple different reasons. One, he was operating without a medical license. Two, he was keeping body parts around his house, which you can't do. He did have a pair of testicles hanging above his bedstand, or his bed frame, his bed. He had a pair of testicles up there. And he'd keep other body parts in jars. He was also selling some of these body parts to people who wanted to buy testicles. And you're like, are you making this up? Is this just some weird fan fiction? No, this has all been proven in court. This was a big website. I don't remember the exact figures, but he made a couple $100,000 just by selling these videos. And people would come in and buy body parts. And sometimes they would eat the body parts. So, I mean, use your imagination, I'd say, but you're like, no, I'm good. I don't even want to remember the title of that old episode. Well, and also he was arrested for creating, in Britain, they have a law against extreme pornography. We used to have that in the United States, where there was a guy named Max Hardcore, which he did nothing of this level. He had videos where it was all simulated, everything was agreed upon. This was back in the old days of porn, i.e. late 90s, early 2000s. Max Hardcore would beat women and have sex with them. And it was illegal. I'm pretty sure he either got arrested or he got prosecuted He got prosecuted a couple times. I don't know if he ever served jail time, but now they don't even prosecute. They don't even bother prosecuting that in the United States anymore. But in Britain, they still have laws against extreme pornography. And that's what these videos were considered, because they said the point of these videos was for sexual interest. It wasn't a science documentary. Plus, he wasn't a scientist or a doctor. He couldn't have been doing this stuff anyways. So he got raided. And he ended up getting arrested, and he got sentenced to 22 years to life in prison in Britain. I thought that was the end of it. You hoped it was the end of it. But I didn't think about this. When they arrested Marius and shut down the EunuchMaker website, the police said, let's go through all of it. Let's go through all of his correspondence. So they begin looking through all of the messages, and they start finding all of the customers who ever purchased a video from this guy. And when they're going through these messages, they find 1,500 messages between Marius the EunuchMaker and Dr. Neil Hopper. Neil also was specifically asking, hey, I know that you had your leg amputated, Marius. How did you do it? How did you damage your leg enough to have the doctors take it off? So, the police have been tracking down all of these people who were buying these videos from EunuchMaker. The investigation is not over. They want to completely obliterate this fetish ring. Not only is it illegal, it's highly dangerous. The people that he was doing these procedures on, sometimes they were people who got whipped up in the fantasy of it all. And then once the blade hit the sack, the fantasy was over. But it was too late. Their testicles were removed. And they're profusely bleeding, and there was really no way to keep any of these guys safe. A lot of times they were told to just put ice on it and go home or get a hotel room so you don't ruin the carpets of your own house. And some of these men I think that's how it got uncovered. One or more men went to the hospital and was like, I mean, obviously you would be screaming, but after the pain, people are like, I think that's how they got arrested. I don't remember exactly how Marius was uncovered, but there have been other stories we've covered on this show where people go to get their testicles removed by some back alley doctor, and they almost die, and then the operation is shut down because the police are notified by the hospital. But it's super dangerous, and it also could be someone who's just lost in this weird fetish, this weird fantasy, and then once they go through with it, They deeply regret it. Like, not even when they go through it, while they're going through it. The police want to shut this down and make sure no one else is picking up the EunuchMaker mantle. So they're looking through all the correspondence, and they found Dr. Neil Hopper, and the police went and talked to him, and they investigated his quote-unquote sepsis. That's not what happened. Dr. Neil Hopper had bought a bunch of dry ice and packed his legs in it, and basically, I mean, how painful would that be? It ended up damaging his legs so much they had to be amputated. Now, remember, that was 4 years ago. That was in 2019. EunuchMaker was arrested in 2023. For 4 years, he was a symbol of inspiration, and now all of his friends and family know him as a fetish freak who had his own legs removed to fulfill some sort of weird sexual fantasy. He ended up being arrested for insurance fraud because he lied. He told them that he had sepsis and he got all this money, which he used to like get a hot tub and an RV and all this stuff. He got arrested for insurance fraud. He also got arrested for 3 counts of possession of extreme pornography, which were these amputation videos that he had purchased from EunuchMaker. So he's going to do a couple years in jail. I think the sentence was like 3 years in jail. And they want him to pay back the money. He's been kicked out of the... I don't know what the term is. I know in America, like, you can disbar an attorney. And there's another thing when you kick a doctor out. That's what happened to him. They've removed him from their list of registered doctors or licensed doctors over in Britain. And he feels really bad about it. He goes, listen, I'll be honest. Ever since I was a kid, I always felt like I didn't need my feet. I always thought they were just a hindrance to me. But he also admitted that there was a sexual satisfaction to the whole thing. That he did get off on the idea of having his legs amputated. Now, whatever, right? If that's what he fantasizes about, that's what he fantasizes about. The law he broke was insurance fraud. Had he just said, I didn't want my legs anymore, I packed them in dry ice, he probably would have lost his job. So, a weirdo for sure. But the twist is, now, some of his former patients are looking at suing the National Health Service. Because he's performed hundreds of amputations over the course of his career. And some of the people, because, you know, they're interviewing past patients because this is an investigation, some of the patients go, well, you know, I got my arm mangled in a motorcycle accident. I had to have it removed. So, I mean, the guy might have gotten off on it while he was cutting it off. He may have been moaning softly as he took the bone saw to me. But, you know, I needed to get it done anyways. And the motto of socialized medicine, it's free, you can't complain. So I had to put up with him moaning in my ear as he cut my arm off. Other people go, you know what? I don't know if I needed that limb removed. I wonder if he actually pushed me to that conclusion faster than another doctor would have. Because he was sexually turned on by the thought of limbs being removed. So a couple of his patients are looking at filing a lawsuit against the National Health Service saying, you employed a sexual psychopath who removed my limbs to satiate his own dark desires. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying to think that that could have happened. You know, you go in and you trust your doctor and he says, hey, listen, you have this buildup in your veins. It's going to end up killing you. You have this disease. Here are these results from these tests. We have a couple different options, but I think the best one right now to save your life is to perform an emergency amputation. And it's creepy to think, too, you go, well, Jason, that's kind of a stretch because he was just into amputating his own legs. He just wanted his own legs off. But remember, he was also buying amputation videos from EunuchMaker. So he also got off on the fact of other people having their limbs amputated as well. Bill, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world-famous Carpenter Copter. Everyone climb on board this beautiful helicopter. We're waving goodbye to Britain. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a house in Anywhere, USA. We fly all the way out to this house. We're about to meet a little girl. We don't have real names. We're going to call the girl Beth. She's 7 years old. And that was the year that her baby sister, who we will call Cleo, was born. Yeah. Oh, little Cleo, what's the matter? It's a tiny little baby person with baby arms and a baby brain. It's just like this sack of meat and guts. I mean, they're cute, but if you think about it, it's just like a larva. It's just like a big larva with arms and legs and a face and a head, hair, and a human brain. But you know what I mean? Babies look weird. They look like dough, like uncooked dough. They look like uncooked. I'm getting hungry. You're like, oh, hey, honey, what are we having for dinner? Oh, we're eating uncooked bread. Ooh, yummy. Jason was just talking about that. Babies look weird. They smell weird. They're just big balls of fat and meat and guts, bones, eyeballs, organs, but weird. And it's a really little baby. Cleo's real little, so she can't talk, she can't walk, she can just cry and poop and sleep, be a little cute every once in a while when she's not screaming in your ear. Me, me. And Beth is sitting there, little Cleo, look it, I'm gonna tickle you. Me. Cleo and Beth having fun, a little girl and her baby sister. A couple months after Cleo's born, one night Beth, when she's still a tiny little baby person, one night Beth is laying there in her bed. And she always had a hard time falling asleep, so this wasn't unusual for her. It was late at night, she's just kind of hanging out in her room. But as she's laying there in bed, fully awake, she hears a noise in the hallway. Thoom. 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 It's this echoing noise of something stomping down the hallway. Boom. 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 Beth is curious. She's not really scared. She is more like, what in the world could be making that noise this late at night? Sounds like something is thundering down the hallway. Is there a pack of pachyderms making their way through the house? So she gets up out of bed and she walks over to the bedroom door and she opens it up and she looks down the hallway, and that's when she sees Cleo. Cleo is crawling down the hallway, but each time her hand hits the ground, thoom, and then a little knee, oh, another hand, oh, another knee, hand, knee, hand, knee, boo, 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 boo. This thundering noise, this little baby is making this thundering noise, and Beth is like, what? I'm sure she had a more expressive emotion than that. Gadzooks! Cleo, what are you doing up? Well, that's the thing. She's watching her baby sister crawl down the hallway, and a couple things become obvious right away. First off, babies don't make that much noise. There's no way a baby can hit the ground with such force that it sounds like an elephant walking through the house. That's one thing she observes. Two, Cleo can't crawl. Cleo's only a couple months old. She has no ability to propel herself in any direction outside of rolling off of a coffee table. So she can't crawl. She definitely couldn't crawl that morning. She shouldn't be able to crawl tonight. And if she can crawl, what's she doing up in the middle of the night? But also, Cleo is black and white. It's almost as if she crawled out of an episode of I Love Lucy. That type of black and white. Greyscale. Beth is sitting there and looking at Cleo, and she realizes all of this stuff is impossible. The noise, the movement, the color, or absence of color. Yet in this moment, Beth's older sister instincts take over, and she approaches this baby. Because in her mind, she thinks, as impossible as this is, a black and white baby sounding like a T-Rex crawling when she shouldn't even have the ability to sit up. She goes, I need to get the baby into the parents' room. What's Cleo doing out? Cleo, you're going to hurt yourself. Come here, baby. Come here. I'll pick you up. And she walks over to Cleo. That instinct, that sister taking care of a baby, kicks in despite all of the oddness of the situation. And she goes, I reached down to grab my baby sister, but I couldn't reach far enough. Like, I reached down to pick her up, but she was still out of my grasp. She was still out of my range. I kept reaching down further and further. And yet Cleo got farther and farther away from me, not on a horizontal plane, but on a vertical plane. I'm reaching down and I keep seeing Cleo just descend down, not through the carpet. She doesn't phase into the floor. The image pulls back. And she goes, I'm watching baby Cleo walk on the carpet, and as I go to touch her, to pick her up, baby Cleo, the carpet, everything descends out of my reach. I can't reach Cleo. But at the same time, my hands are touching the carpet. So it's a visual distortion that's going on here. The carpet looks like it's 3 or 4 feet beyond her reach, yet Beth's hands are already touching the carpet. I don't know. It's interesting. She doesn't say if she's just like, okay, whatever, Cleo. You can crawl to your heart's content. Just keep it down and walk back into her bedroom. I don't know if the image of Cleo disappeared instantly, if it faded away, if it simply crawled out of view. I don't know. She ends her narrative with that. She's trying to pick up Cleo, and Cleo keeps getting farther away. So does the floor. Yet, eventually, Beth is touching the carpet, yet she can still see the carpet out of her grasp. Odd, right? Super odd. I love this type of stuff about paranormal with these visual I mean, that's unexplainable. That's the definition of unexplainable. Imagine that just in your daily life. There's a Diet Pepsi sitting on your desk, and you go to grab the Diet Pepsi, and it appears now 5 feet away, but your hand is touching the Diet Pepsi. But you can clearly see the Diet Pepsi and the desk that it's on 5 feet across the room. You don't see your hand touching it, but you can feel the Pepsi in your hand. Truly unexplainable. But when you talk about the paranormal, you would have things like this. I'm actually surprised they don't pop up more often. I think the reason why they don't is because people don't report things like this. It's so bizarre. We understand a ghost. We understand an alien. What was this? I have a theory. But she says, you know what? She goes, I've never been able to explain that. She goes, I don't think it was paranormal. I don't necessarily, is what she said. I don't necessarily think it was paranormal, but it's unexplained. And when I think about it even now, I can't wrap my head around what happened that night. She's adamant she wasn't dreaming because she was awake. She's always awake late at night. So that's an interesting story. Let's set that aside for 1 minute. I want to talk about another story I found on a completely different day. This one, we have a little bit more information. I'll kind of breeze through this one. It's summer 2024. We're going to meet a young man. We'll call him Taylor. Taylor's at the home of his grandparents, and they've been regularly visiting their grandparents. They're in their 90s. So, they're not going to be around that long, but they've always had a good relationship with the grandparents. Now they're just trying to be there more often as the grandparents are getting older. And Taylor goes, I never liked the house. It always gave me really creepy vibes when I was over at grandparents' house. And because of that, I always had a hard time sleeping. But other than that, never really experienced any ghosts or anything like that. Never saw anything fly across the room. No black and white babies. Well, one day during the summer of 2024, when they were over at the grandparents' house, Taylor was at the bottom of the stairs. And he goes, it was in the middle of the day. There was a bunch of people in the house. There were a bunch of people in the living room nearby. Taylor was at the bottom of the stairs, and something drew his attention, and he looked up, and at the top of the stairs, he saw this quote-unquote fuzziness. He said the air looked fuzzy right at the top of the stairs, and it was in the shape of a humanoid. Taylor's looking up, and he can clearly see it looks like a person standing there with one hand on the stair railing, and they were leaning a bit. Their body had a bit of a lean to it. And Taylor's just looking at it, kind of dumbfounded. It's so weird. He's trying to figure out exactly what he's looking at. When all of a sudden, Taylor's mom walks out of her room upstairs, walks right over to the top of the stairs, puts her hand on the railing, and slightly leans her body. He said it was the exact same pose that I had seen 30 seconds earlier. The exact same pose I was looking at when my mom walked out. She walked to the top of the stairs, and she took that exact same pose that fuzzy image was making. So here's my theory, and before we get on to that, the first story we talked about, not the EunuchMaker story, but the black and white baby, that was posted online by someone going by the name Traditional Self 658, and then this story about the fuzziness was posted online by someone going by the name of Kyomich. Here's my hypothesis. We'll wrap it up. We'll wrap up the weekend we'll wrap up the week like this. I'll try to keep this quick. What if some ghosts aren't ghosts? They are things displaced through time. This isn't a new theory. It's the idea that sometimes when we look at a ghost and we see an old-timey ghost, that person, it's not that their spirit's actually there. It's not that it's even a recording of a tragic event. It's that at one point in time, someone was walking through the house dressed up like some colonial woman, and she had this really weird feeling back in 1678 or whatever, and she kind of goes, oh, I don't feel good, and she kind of looks around, and there's just kind of a weird sensation for her, and then it disappears, and she goes about her day. A little off-kilter, but no worse for wear. What happens is 300 years later, someone in that same house is walking through it late at night, and they see a colonial woman kind of look befuddled standing in the darkness for just a second before she fades out of view. It's a time displacement. It's not an actual ghost or a spirit. It's somehow the timeline is pushed together like an accordion for just a moment. That's not a new theory. But I wonder, in these two cases, if it's not the opposite. These are visions of the future coming into the past. I mean, in the second story, that's pretty much what it is, right? He sees the future just a few seconds before it happens. But the fuzziness was the image of where his mother would stand. Now, imagine that Taylor had turned around and walked out of the room because it disturbed him so much and didn't walk to see his mother take that pose. He would always go, well, I knew that house was creepy, and then one day I saw a ghost. I looked up at the top of the stairs. I saw a fuzziness in the air where a human was. There was no one there. He was able to confirm it because the mom came out and took that pose. He saw the future, but it could have easily been mistaken as a ghost. The story with Cleo, eventually, she would crawl down that hallway. Eventually, she would grow old enough in that house and develop enough muscle that she would be able to propel herself down that hallway on all fours. And I wonder if that's what Beth was seeing. She was seeing the future. The visual distortions, the color issues, even the noise could all be side effects of this echo through time. And the thing is, with the mother walking out of a room and standing at the top of the stairs, or a baby crawling down the hallway, those are all so meaningless. Those are all so forgettable that you would never mark them down if you saw them the first time or the 18th. Well, the first time your baby crawled might be a thing, but you know what I mean? It's nothing notable outside of that. Your baby crawling down the hallway. Babies are always crawling down hallways once they learn how to crawl. It was only notable because someone saw it before it was supposed to happen. I wonder if Taylor had gone to the top of the stairs and tried to interact with this fuzziness, and there wasn't a lot of time to do it, but had he done that, would there have been some sort of spatial distortion like Beth experienced? They both experienced visual distortions. But would there have also been a spatial displacement if he tried to reach for the fuzziness? Well, here's my wrap-up. Because you're like, oh, that's an interesting concept. If time, I'm a big time guy as far as it's meaningless. Time is the most malleable of all things. It is not linear by any means. So if something can produce an image from the past that we see in the present, it is just as likely that an image from the future could also be seen in the present. And our image could be seen in the past. But let's take this a step further. How often does this happen? The fuzziness, we saw the future just a couple seconds later. The baby who was a couple months old wouldn't be crawling down the hallway for a while. Not like she'd crawl down the hallway 30 seconds later, the real Cleo, or the next day or the week or anything like that. It's going to take a while before that baby's crawling down that hallway. No one watching it. What about when you wake up in the middle of the night and you see a dark silhouette standing at the foot of your bed? Is it a ghost? Is it a shadow man? Or is it a vision of the future? A placeholder of an event that someday will happen? You wake up in the middle of the night, and standing exactly where that silhouette was standing just a few years ago, now there's a man who broke into your home, a man who was watching you sleep. I wonder how often this does happen. These ghosts are actually visions of a future. In the two cases we covered, that's not bad. A baby crawling and a mom standing. But that time you catch movement out of the corner of your eye and you look and there's no one there. Someday will someone be there? A man crouched down behind your couch holding a knife? Or when you're walking out to your car and you swear you saw something underneath your vehicle. And you're kind of hesitant to look. You're so sure that there was something down there, but you finally go, well, I either have to look or run to my car and jump in real quick. And you kind of look and there's nothing there. It was just fleeting, really. But then 4 weeks after that, when you're walking out to your car, it's the same man with the knife. He's like, oh, the couch trick didn't fool you. You ran away, but now I'm under your car, and he slits your ankles. Ah! It's Dr. Hopper. He's like, oh, more legs for my collection. All of those times we think we see something, are we actually seeing into the future? And if that is even remotely possible, who will be standing at the foot of our bed? Who will be the man watching us sleep? Sometimes the best you can hope for is a haunted house. Because if it's a placeholder for a future event, who knows if you will survive the night? Jason, I mean, it doesn't have to be that scary. This was a baby. There were no knives in any of this. It's a man with a knife. It's a man with a knife. Maybe it's just some guy who accidentally walked into your apartment because he thought it was his apartment. And then he just decides to watch you sleep. And he's like, you know what, while I'm here, are there any knives? Does this guy have any knives? He goes in your kitchen. Yeah. I mean, it could just be a black and white baby. You wake up in the middle of the night. There's a black and white baby in your bed. Actually, wouldn't that be crazy? What about all these stories about people saying, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard a baby crying in my house and I looked around and I couldn't find any babies. And then I realized I didn't have any babies. That was you hearing your future baby crying. And your baby has a knife when you go to hug him. He's like, stab you, has a little Fisher Price knife. All those times you wake up in the middle of the night, there's a little girl at the foot of your bed. Ring around the rosy. And then her eyes turn pitch black and she jump scares you. You're like, oh my God. And then, like 10 years later, you end up having a kid named Dolores, and she grows up and she's that age and she keeps telling you, hey daddy, can we play Ring Around the Rosie? And you're like, later honey, later. And then you're asleep and she goes, well, now's later, dad's asleep. So she walks into your bedroom and she goes, ring around the Rosie. But this time she has her eyeballs. She has her eyeballs, no knife involved. She also doesn't jump scare you. She's just standing there and she goes, can we play Ring Around the Rosie now, Dad? You go, oh, that's what that terrifying vision that gave me lasting PTSD was about. It wasn't a demon. It was my own daughter. And it was showing me that maybe I should spend more time with my kids. That's why she jump scared me. That'd be interesting if a lot of these ghost stories actually do foretell some sort of future event. Because that's something that we don't really talk about in ghost investigations. We always focus on the past, but maybe, I'm not saying we should always focus on the future, but maybe sometimes we should. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one.